Now, when we are dividing fractions, even when we have polynomials, the process doesn't really change. So let's take a look at our first problem. Just plain old fraction that we're going to divide, just to make sure we understand how to divide fractions. So if I have negative 4/5 divided by negative 12/5, what will I have to do in order for me to actually figure out what this quotient is? Avery?
You have to multiply by the reciprocal, so 5 over 9.
I have to multiply by the reciprocal. So, and you told me that the second term has to be flipped. So we're finding the reciprocal of the second term. And so our first term remains the same, and our second term is, and our second term is the one that switches. All right. So once we have figured out that we have to multiply by the reciprocal, my next step, just like in any other fraction problem, is going to be reducing. So we need to reduce at this point. So do you see anything that can be reduced before we go ahead and multiply these things together? Maggie?
The 5, or
Yeah, 5 divided by 5 is
1.
1. Yvonne? Negative 4 goes into both of these, doesn't it? So negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1. Negative 12 divided by negative 4 is, as you said, 3. So 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 3 is, there's 3. And so we get an answer of 1/3. And I'm sure all of you are like, no kidding, I could have done that, no problem. Which is hopefully what you're thinking. Now, we're going to move along to having monomials instead of just plain numbers. And then after we include monomials, then we'll start looking at polynomials and how it changes our process. So in question J, what's my first step? What am I going to do so that I can actually find the quotient? Quinn? Multiply by the reciprocal. So I know this is going to be multiplication. Which number becomes its reciprocal? The second one. So instead of x over 12xy, we have 12xy over x. And my numerator, or sorry, my second term stays the same. So we have 3x squared over 4y squared. And now it's time to do our great crossing out, because we don't want to multiply and then cross out. That's extra work. So what's going to cross out here? What cancels out? Rebecca?
You can cancel out the x and then you can cross out the square.
Okay. Incidentally, I could have crossed these out as well. It's going to be the same answer. So just wanted to point that out. Olivia, what else can I do?
4y goes into 12xy.
Okay. I'm going to deal with the 4's first. So this is going to, 4 goes into 12 3 times.
Yeah.
No, you said the y. We have y squared and a y here. So y divided by y is 1. Y squared divided by y is just y. Is there anything else that we can cancel out? Yvonne says no. So 3x times 3 is 9x. Y times 1, thank you, because x times x is x squared. Y times 1 is just y. And we're done. So the monomials really aren't much more difficult than the plain numbers. They require no extra work other than finding the reciprocal, multiplying, and then canceling things out, and then moving on, multiplying the pieces that are left over. So in question O, now we have polynomials. What do you think we're going to have to do the polynomials before we do anything else? Avery? We'll have to factor them. So that's our first step. Can 3 plus 3y be factored? Okay, greatest common monomial, as she said. So then I'm going to keep the division for now. Can I do any factoring here? No. So in this case, it would probably just be a whole lot easier. Anytime now. There you go. To multiply by the reciprocal, because I don't have any factoring, so I don't have a step to show there. So what cancels out? What cancels out? Matthew? Is there anything else that cancels out? Evan?
Or O. No.
No?
Oh, 3 is 6.
Oh, 3 goes into 6, and 3 goes into 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is?
2.
Perfect. Is there anything else that can be factored out? No. So 1 times 9 is? 2 times 1 is? So it's just 9 over 2. All the variables canceled out. That's all right. Q gets a little more complicated. Now we have polynomials in all 4 spots. So right now, if you're a boy, I want you to factor everything in the first fraction. If you are a girl, I would like you to factor everything in the second fraction. And by the way, this is a division symbol here. Make sure that's a division symbol. All right, boys, what does the numerator factor to? Quinn?
G plus 1 times G minus 1.
And the denominator? Yvonne?
G minus 2 and
All right, so we're going to keep the division. Girls, the numerator. Anna?
G plus 2 times G minus 1.
And the denominator?
G plus 1 times G minus 2.
Now, at this point, this is division, so we need to find the reciprocal. We have to flip it. So that means, let's see if I can do this. So that means we are just going to take the reciprocal. That was convenient, so we didn't have to erase. And when we take the reciprocal, what happens to the multiplication symbol? What happens to the multiplication? There's a division, changes to multiplication. And so now we can go through and start crossing off things that are common. So what do you notice that we can cross off in this problem? Matthew? G minus 1, G minus 1. Right. Is there anything else that cancels out? Mia? Is there anything else that cancels out? No, not so much. Now we have G plus 1 times G plus 1. What's another way of saying G plus 1 times G plus 1? G plus 1 squared. What about G plus 2 times G plus 2? Sorry, times G plus 2. Yvonne? G plus 2 squared. And we are done. Now the last problem looks fairly simple, and it is, but there is a bit of a trick. So here is the trick. So we're again going to multiply by the reciprocal. So we're multiplying by b minus a over 1. And we have 1 over a minus b. Now, we don't have anything that we can cancel out because these two terms are opposites. Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if the a were positive and the b were negative? What can I do to make that happen? what can I factor out of b minus a that would get it to a minus b? Peyton?
So factor out -1.
Let's factor out -1. So when I factor out -1, I will get negative a minus b over 1 times 1 over a minus b. So what's going to cancel out in this case? What is going to cancel out in this case? A minus b, and when we multiply it together, we will be left with -1, because we have the negative in front of the parentheses. All right, so that is basically how to divide polynomial fractions.